again. I'm Eric with Smart Pot Fabric Planters, back with another great episode of the Growing Revolution. And our guest this week is David Larsen with Circo Innovations. They're a California-based plastics manufacturer company making lots of cool products, especially for the garden and greenhouse industries. So, David, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Eric. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for your time. So can you tell us how Circo Innovations started?
So, Circo started back in 1997, was our first patent, started by a man named Joe Ramey, and he was a tile setter. And in the tile industry, a big part of the job is taking the tile cutting saw into these houses that you don't want to get dirty, right? So it's a kind of a messy job. You're cutting tile using a lot of
Yeah.
water. And so he invented a clip where you could build a PVC frame around your tile saw, and then the clip would hold the plastic to the frame. And so that was the very first snap clamp that he ever came up with. And, he told his wife about it over and over. Oh, I got it. I got this cool idea. I really want to go with it, and she's like, I don't want to hear one more word about it until you get a patent on it. And so he did. 1997, he got the patent in the mail when his youngest son was born. And since then, his older son, Josh, has helped him grow the business into what it is today. Now we carry, 400 different SKUs of PVC fittings, plastic parts for building with PVC pipe.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it sounds like the original patent has expired by now, but I'm sure you guys have lots more on
Yeah.
file. So you had mentioned the PVC pipe clip. So what other types of products do you guys manufacture and sell?
So when the initial snap clamp was developed, there's obviously lots of sizes of pipe. So from 1/2 inch to 2 inch are the primary sizes. Him and his son Josh went through perfecting the formula for the plastic because, as we know, outdoors the sun always wins. So uh, perfecting that plastic is really key. So they eventually got to a good formula that lasted a long time, that wouldn't lose its memory in the sun, that would be a good strength for plastic, holding it tight. And then they developed that in every size. And then they developed a lighter version of it, the one that's easier on and off. It's called the Easy Snap. And then there was an industry that needed an even stronger version. So we started making aluminum clamps. So they're very stout. They last forever, pretty much. And there's a whole industry that uses those. And from there, they
What
started sourcing.
industry is that?
So the really large commercial growers use the metal ones because they attach long runs of plastic to these big pipes, and they want them, and those actually particular ones are made for rolling up the sides of a greenhouse, making sure that that stays on. So we sell quite a few of those to like Farm Tech and some bigger commercial suppliers. And then from there, they started sourcing every type of PVC fitting you can think of. And in that point in time, they started getting into the furniture grade fittings, which, if your audience is familiar with PVC fittings, the furniture grade fittings are more like they have beveled edges, they have UV inhibitors, they are more glossy finish. They're like a premium, PVC fitting, and they look nice, for we deal with a lot of inventors and they want something that doesn't look like a plumbing grade fitting. So, and there's a plethora of fittings that have come from sourcing those. And then of course we've made a dozen different styles of new fittings that no one else carries. So we've found needs that certain industries have of like we have our side saddle tee that's made to snap onto a PVC pipe, and then it creates a T fitting. Instead of having to cut that pipe, you can just snap it right on. It looks like a
Oh, I
T
love that.
just from the outside, but it snaps onto the pipe. So
Yes, my brain is working right now, thinking of different trellising
yes,
ideas that I want to do with my raised beds that
yes,
I was struggling to find connections for. But now that I know you guys have that, I think I'll be perusing your catalog.
for
Um,
sure.
so I understand you that this is a family company. What are the benefits of working, with, I guess, a family company like Circo Innovations?
So yeah, there it has its really good benefits. We so my wife is basically the office manager, and she ran the business for at least 10 years. And then my older brother-in-law, he's basically our CFO, so he watches over the finances and he does the forecasting, stuff like that. And then of course Joe is kind of the big idea behind everything. And then I kind of manage the day to day. And then my brother in law, Daniel, does the videoing and the YouTube and the social media. And then we've got a lot of other family members who help. One very important task is there's about 20 grandkids now. So Mrs. Ramey watches kids often so that people can work. And then her sister Hannah does as well. And then we have Esther who handles our books. She goes through and makes sure all the numbers add up. And then we've actually, one of our main office ladies, she's the sister of Esther's husband. So it's staying in the family. But, it has its really good benefits. It's very flexible. We work with each other. Summertime, people are in and out all the time, going on trips, going camping, all kinds of things. So it makes it easy because, you know, we kind of see each other at work and we see each other not at work often. So we know what's going on in each other's lives, which is really good. We love that. And of course, you have to strike a good balance because no one, sometimes taking work home is a bad thing. Sometimes you got to leave it there. So finding that balance has been a challenge sometimes, but we've figured out a way and we're making it work well.
Yeah, I could imagine the work-life balance is kind of a double-edged sword with a family company in that, yeah, it can be very easy to take that work home with you and not leave it at the office. But that's really cool. And I love hearing about that babysitter aspect because, yeah, childcare, it's expensive.
It
But not
is,
only
yeah.
that, like, can you really trust the people that are watching your kids? That to me
Right.
is uh that's everything right there.
That's paramount. Yeah.
So yeah. So you guys are having other manufacturers actually do the production process. What kind of equipment are they using, and then where is that being done out of?
So the snap clamps initially we looked at different places making it and we found a very solid contact, and he works with factories in Taiwan. And so a lot of the snap clamps and those types of things, those are extrusion molded. They run them through a long line and then they cut them in sections. And we've had a great relationship with Taiwan for the last 20 years, 30 years. And so that's a really solid connection. And then we actually um, produced a lot of molds for like 5 ways for the 5-way PVC fitting. And those are also produced in Taiwan. And those are, of course, injection molded. And then when we come up with a new product, we always go through our Taiwan connection because he's also an engineer. So he can look and see, okay, what's going to be the most feasible way to make this new part? What's going to be the most efficient way? Do we need a 4-cavity mold? Do we need an 8-cavity mold? And then cost wise, minimum orders, things like that. And he's really good at seeing what's the demand for this new part, that kind of thing. Stateside, we've got a couple. Most of what we do stateside is injection molded. In fact, if you look at a lot of the fittings in like your big hardware stores, most of those are actually made in the United States, like Spears and Nibco and all those. And it's interesting because, even like when there was that big freeze in Texas that affected all the petrochemical industry, that affected Taiwan directly. They source those types of materials from Texas. And so it's interesting because when you look at the United States, injection molding plastic is like something that the United States does very well, and it makes sense to do it here because many of those machines are automated, and so they just work all day long, injection molding and releasing those fittings out, putting them on shelves. And so that's why we are starting to head down that direction. We just bought 4 injection molding machines, and we just cleared out a whole new section of our warehouse to start manufacturing for ourselves. Many of the parts that we're starting to work with are smaller, so we're going to start out on a smaller scale. But yeah, injection molding, as many as there's been leaps and bounds in that whole industry, you look at 3D printing, you look at additive manufacturing, we injection molding as a whole is still done pretty much how it's always been done since they've been making these machines that shoot the plastic into a mold and then release it. So that is a still very viable type of industry.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Um, now, my next question is, what kind of gardening products besides the clips do you guys make, and who are your customers? Are your customers end users, like, in their backyard? Are they more on the commercial side of things, and how is that mix?
So, in the last 10 years, we have had a big push for our own retail sales. We're reaching out more on Amazon and such. Many businesses are going that direction. In general, we do prefer to stay wholesale, though. We are a small team, so sending out a pallet order is a lot more efficient for us. So our pricing is set up as such where we're not trying to compete against our people on the retail side. Even though we do have an online store, you can find our parts a lot cheaper through like a greenhouse mega store, so a place like that. So, in general, we try to we try to work our business model into as many places as we can and try to be more visible. And our products have been very centered towards end users, but in general, there's industries that pick us up that are like, hey, we could use this for, a new design we're looking at. So, for example, the side saddle tee came about, and a guy who winterizes palm trees in New York. And he's like, I need a way to build a frame around these things when I wrap them up. I need it to be quick and easy. So he helped us move forward with the side saddle, making it where he can just put his vertical pipes up and snap these fittings in place. And he's got his rectangular, cube that will allow him to cover those palm trees very quickly. So it's industries like that where he's selling these kits to his customer as a solid way to protect their palm tree through the winter. Um, for example, I don't know if you know of Global Industrial. They sell mostly commercial style products, but they're reaching further into lots of sectors. But they sell to people like Tesla and NASA. And Delta Airlines. Like they have these direct inroads to buyers in those companies. So just last week, we have a new kit called a Gothic Arch greenhouse that we sold to NASA through Global Industrial. And I don't know what they're experimenting with, but maybe one day we'll see it on Mars. Who knows? But building with PVC is inexpensive and a good way to build a structure. So people are finding ways to use that product.
Yeah, and you mentioned for gardeners, Greenhouse Megastore is a good customer of yours and a good place to check out
Yeah.
your fittings.
Yes. Greenhouse
Awesome.
Megastore, they're a solid company. We've been working with them for years. They're always interested in new stuff we're putting out, and they've really taken care of us, and likewise.
Yeah, we have a good relationship with them as well, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really cool to hear about that gardening kit that NASA is using with you guys. Hopefully, they're using smart pots in some regards for their
Exactly. Yeah.
containers. Cool. I guess besides growing on Mars, any other plans for the future for Circo Innovations?
So yeah, right now we're really excited. We're working on a new product line where so if you're familiar with building with PVC pipe, one of the problems is that when you get the pipe into your fitting, getting it out or turning that pipe at all is pretty difficult because many of our customers don't use glue because our fittings are so tight, which is good because you can just get them seated and they're good to go. Well, what we're finding is that due to the cost of shipping, due to the struggle that there is with building, sometimes with fitting that pipe in, um, we're finding that it'd be cool if you could fit that pipe in and be able to just pin it together. And so I don't know if you're familiar with it was an old kid's toy called O'Mangles. I think it's called Two Blocks now, but it's basically a kid's set of pipe and fittings that have a little pin that you can put everything together and pin it all together and it stays together. Well, we're kind of using that idea in ag and different industries that they need to send out kits, but not in long lengths. So if you can cut a 10-footer down in half and simply pin those things together, um, and make sure that they don't come undone, but make sure that they're available to be taken down when you don't want to use it anymore, or like when the season's over, you just undo it, put it away, you know. So we're coming up with a new pin. It's called our Circo pin. We're coming up with a special fitting that you basically glue onto the pipe and you can put into the fitting and then you can pin it together. And it will make this whole, the problem of fitting things together and making it too tight, it'll solve that, and it'll also solve being able to build something and then put it back in the box like when you're done with it, kind of a thing. And so for with smart pots, we're developing a new raised bed frame so that we can, using PVC, we can get the pot off the ground and we can pin it together and have the customer not have to worry about glue, not have to worry about any tools. They just pin it all together and it can hold their raised bed grower no problem.
Well, I could have used this product last week when I was redoing my 4x8 PVC raised bed that
Oh man.
had some rooting trees going up through the fabric, tree roots going up through the fabric. So I had to dig that sucker out and redo the bed. And while I was doing it, I broke one of the PVC pipes. So I
Oh
basically
no.
had to, because everything was glued together, I basically had to buy all new PVC, all new fittings. And if I had something like your product from the get go, I could have just kind of disassembled it
Right.
easily
Right.
and then reassembled it. So,
Yeah.
now I know in the future for future beds to definitely make it a Circo Innovations bed.
Right.
How
Yeah.
can
And
people get in touch with you? Like, what's your website? Are you guys on social media?
yeah, so if you type in Circo Innovations, you'll find our website, circoinnovations.com. We're on YouTube. We have tons of how-to videos on YouTube. We're always coming out with a new PVC idea project. I think there's about 150 videos you can look through on there. And then we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. Circo PVC is an at that you can follow. And then we're always coming out with new stuff. And if you build stuff with PVC, we would love to see what you built. Just add us or send us a direct message. We would love to see what you're building, because we find that people in all walks of life and any type of, geography are building things with PVC.
Yeah, it really is kind of a miracle material for us. And I saw a few of your guys' videos on ideas of what to make with PVC, and I was just like kind of mind blown, because it was just everyday type things that you would never think could be made out of PVC, but pretty much anything can be. So
Yeah.
definitely people should check out your guys' videos for DIY ideas, and check out the website for Circo Innovations products. So,
Yeah.
on that note, David, thank you so much for making the time to join us on the podcast. It was great getting to know more about you and the company. So, on that note, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, Eric.